Chapter 6. Eternalizing Time. Throughout history, men have often been in rebellion against eternity, but they have been no less in rebellion against time. They resent eternity because it is beyond them, and they resent time because it is not eternity. Accordingly, men have repeatedly attempted to eternalize time, to arrest history by creating an unchanging society, which is a final order. One means by which men have attempted to arrest history has been the family. The classic example of this is Tibetan polyandry. By means of polyandry, the Tibetan society, prior to the communist conquest, maintained an unchanging social order. The purpose was to retain property intact and society in a stable, continuing and unchanging order. The eldest son inherited the property in its entirety, and thus the problem of fractional heirship was avoided. The younger sons who did not become lamas had to share in the eldest son's wife and estate to live. Sometimes the brothers took more than one woman as their joint wives, but irrespective of the number of joint wives and joint husbands, the eldest son inherited all, and the property was handed on intact. This system was by no means productive of peace and harmony. It was definitely conducive to clashes and to unhappiness. Even Justice Douglas, who is prone to see good in all things, observed, quote, "I learned that the polyandry system breeds prostitution," end quote. What polyandry in Tibet did produce was a social equilibrium at the cost of peace, character, and progress. The unchanging order was the goal, a society to reflect the quality of eternity, but men die. Before they die, they grow old, so that men change and cannot therefore reflect this unchanging quality of eternity. Mutability is an inescapable part of man's physical nature. If therefore time and history are to be immobilized, it must be the social order which is immobilized and rendered unchanging, because people will age and perish. As a result, whenever and wherever time is eternalized, man is sacrificed to the social order. The unchanging order must remain, and it must be paramount, and changing man must be sacrificed to it. In Tibetan polyandry, the personal goals of the sons were irrelevant. Either they conformed to the land and marriage system, or they conformed to the Buddhist monastic system. Similarly, the wishes of the wife had no standing. She was required to be the wife of all the brothers in order to preserve the unchanging social order and its land system. That there was much discord among many men and women goes without saying, but that none revolted and altered the system is equally true. The system was eternal, unchanging, and who was changing man to rebel against eternity? Other family systems in ancient and more recent societies have sought to eternalize time. Ancestor worship linked the supernatural and eternal order to the family. The worship of ancestors had a doubly paralyzing effect on history. Fifth, ancestor worship linked the sinful human order to eternity in irrevocable union, so that an area of life which should be under the law and judgment of eternity became the incarnation of the eternal order. Second, the family still remained in time, in history, and ancestor worship gave the family a deadly historical perspective, the backward look. Instead of progress, retrogression was the law. The state has had a similar history. Many early forms of the state were believed to be the mystical bond or union of heaven and earth. The ruler or the state represented the presence of the eternal order in time. History was immobilized in terms of this imminent will of the gods, and a backward look prevailed. With the Renaissance and the Enlightenment, utopian thought began to posit a future order, an unchanging society and final state for man. In this ideal order, the idea of history will become flesh, the idea will take full form. The dialectic of history in this philosophy is a clash between form and matter, nature and freedom, thesis and antithesis, and with synthesis the realization will come. Accordingly, the goal of history has become the death of history. God and eternity are denied, But time and history are also denied in that they must be transcended and history must be eternalized. Utopianism is an aspect of all socialist thinking, Marxist, Fabian, and quote-unquote Christian, and of, quote, welfare economics as well. The political goal offered to men is a final order, the solution to man's problems. This final order is only delayed by certain reactionary elements who either oppose utopianism or have another form of utopianism to offer. Overwhelm and destroy this dissident elements by education or liquidation, and utopia will arrive, such as the thesis, and basic to this faith is a hatred of man and of history, a hatred of time and eternity. From the biblical perspective, time is time. It involves and requires change and decay, progress and problems, movement and counter-movement. Even before the fall, there was time and history in Eden. Adam and Eve aged markedly more slowly, but they were daily a little older. Trees budded, burst forth with blossoms, gave fruit, and then dropped their leaves. Man's mandate was to exercise dominion over the earth, Genesis 1:28, and this was a task requiring time and having an historical prospect. Marriage, ordained in paradise, had time and history in view. Because history is movement, it entails birth, maturity, and death. Each generation fulfills its destiny, and another resumes the pilgrimage of history, which is man's destiny and privilege. When God instituted marriage in Eden, before any parents existed, he ordained, quote, "Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh," end quote, Genesis 2:24. The significance of this verse is very great. The past must be honoured. Honouring parents sometimes involves their economic support as needed. But a man must leave his father and mother and cleave unto his wife. He must break with the one institution to create another. The old must be honoured, but history must move forward. The old authority is honoured at God's very specific commandment, Deuteronomy 5:16, but the honour of the old requires the creation of the new authority. The new husband must establish his own area of dominion in family and calling. The unchanging authority is not of this world. It is the sovereign and triune God and his revealed and infallible word. Man belongs to time and to history, and as long as he is in time, he must remain in history. It is the perversity of sin which makes men denounce heaven and eternity, and then work to negate time and history by trying to convert it into heaven. The result is hell on earth. From the biblical perspective, time is not eternalized. It is redeemed from the fall, Ephesians 5:16, Colossians 4:5, and made the arena of man's dominion. Instead of being bewailed, time is to be enjoyed under God, for, according to the Catechism, man's chief end is to glorify God and to enjoy him forever. This is man's role in time and eternity. Even in the midst of tribulation, the note of joy must resound, quote, "Rejoice in the Lord always. And again I say, rejoice," Philippians 4:4. Because time and history witness not only movement and struggle, but also the inescapable victory of God's people, 1 John 5:4. Attempts of various men, such as Harvey Cox in The Secular City, 1965, to secularize history go hand in hand with an attempt to incarnate a revolutionary idea in history and thereby arrest history. Cox calls it, quote, "the Church's koinonia function, making visible the city of man," end quote. But the city of man does not arrest history or realize it. It merely produces the chaos of revolution. The essence of such positions is rebellion against the sovereign God and his eternal decree, against the predetermination of history and time by eternity. But since time and history are themselves the creation of the triune God, every rejection of God involves also a rejection of his creation, as well as an attempt to force a new creation on an assumed world of ostensibly brute factuality. The consequence is a rejection of time and history and the mad shambles of the city of man.